Okay, we're gonna get going.
I can throw stuff into a trash can, but I cannot make a basket for the life of me.
It's okay, neither can I. I'm gonna be able to make a basket, but like depends on it.
Okay.
If I had a gun to my head and somebody said you gotta make a basket or I'm shooting you, I would
I'd get shot.
I would
Do you
get
think
shot.
I'd probably.
that's some kind of sadistic person, by the way?
My ass would probably.
Like, could you imagine? Like that? Like that's there's a lot of awful people in the world. That's a special kind of awful. I'm gonna shoot you if you can't make this basket. That's terrible. Okay.
That's
It is. I mean, obviously shooting anyone for any reason is terrible. That's especially terrible. So here's what I want to do. Today dovetails off yesterday, and if you missed yesterday, the good thing is today covers that whole span again, actually, but with one new step. So, we've talked about this. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have one right here. Back in 2 minutes, I was back in 5.
So, the least information I can possibly give you and have you come up with a line is what? Yeah, I can give you M and B, and that works. I can give you the slope and the y-intercept, for sure. Yesterday, I gave you the slope and a point. I could also just give you 2 points. 2 points make a line. If you put, don't do this here. Don't do this. But if I put a point randomly here and a point randomly there, can I make a line?
Sure, let's do it.
Just connect them. Just like that.
It's so janky.
Okay, there we go. If I put a point randomly here and another one randomly there, can I make a line? Yeah. Just connect them. 2 points is enough information to make a line. That is the absolute bare minimum amount of information I can give you to get a line. Does that make sense? The definition of a line is 2 points connected going on forever. And then once you do that, there's an infinite number of points on that line. But it starts with just 2. 2 points is enough to, in math terms, define a line. You can get the definition of any line from that. Now, I want to start then doing that by graphing. I want to start just by graphing. So I've given you 2 points here, 1, 2, and 4, 6. So put those 2 points on your axes. 1, 2, and 4, 6. Please put them on your axes. And then I want you to connect them with a ruler if you can, please, or with something straight, not like I did there, and make a nice straight line between 1, 2, and 4, 6. Yeah, it's always alphabetical, so X, Y. And 4, 6. So you should get 2 points, and then just draw lines in 4, 6. And I think it's on your sheet. I was going to say bless you. You don't have to bless everybody. Admittedly, I can't really hear out of the left side of my, or the right side of my head rather today. I don't know what to do why. But it's just a big blurry.
It's just because it's a Wednesday.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did my grade.
Oh, worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario.
It says, okay, that's okay, because I put like 1, 2, right?
So 1, and then you're right to go 2. Over 1, and then up how many? Up to 2.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. There you go. Oh, you had one.
Is it right?
A big one? Oh. Okay, you're on the right track, man. That's absolutely. What is that? Each of these is a half. 1 and 2. So the first one, 1, 2. You go over 1. How much?
Well.
The next one's going to go at 4, oh, so what is that? 4 over and 6 up, what is that? So we're 6 and 4. Does that make sense? That's nuts.
I'm gonna do this right.
now like if you did it a half comma 2, right? Because each one of these is just a half. Like 1 is like that. But other than that, okay, so let's take a look. If we go together, my first point had what coordinates again? 1, 2. So we'd go to 1 on the x-axis, 2 on the y. There's a point. Does that look like the point everyone has? And then 4, 6 would be 4 on the x, 6 on the y, and they intersect right here. Does that look like everyone's? Okay, great. And then we could connect them with a nice straight line like that. And it's a bit tricky with this thing trying to get them to go perfectly, but that looks pretty good. That's a pretty good line. So now, if I wanted to know the equation of this line, I could figure out its slope, right? How could I figure out the slope here? Rise over run. Very good. So rise over run. And the rise, of course, is just how we change on the y-axis. And remember here that every 2 grids is actually 1, right? This grid goes by halves, which I guess was stupid of me. Wasn't really thinking. But that's 1, 2, 3. So how much is the rise? 4. And the run is 3. Okay. So everyone get that? By the way, if you had just counted the line, each individual grid, you'd get 8 over 6, and that works too. So if you counted this and got 8 over 6, that's fine. That works. I didn't mean to. It just happened. I know. No, but really, it is stupid. But so in this case, the slope, m, would be rise over run, which would be what over what? 4 over 3. Okay. Shh. Good. And then the y-intercept, this is just a guess, but what's that look like? Like 0.666, right? If that's 0.5, I bet this is about 0.6, roughly. But we don't know, right? The y-intercept, we'd be kind of guessing, wouldn't we? You don't have to write that on there. But can you see that? If I had to guess at b, I'd say that b is roughly 0.6, but that's just a guess. So I can get my slope and my b from the graph, but there's a bit of guesswork involved. Here's what I want to show you. We can get the slope exactly from 2 points. Now, before we do it, I want to ask you this. Right now, I am 33 years old. I am. That's the age I am. 33, that is a good number. That is, yeah, that is the end of Jesus' earthly ministry. So a few months away from outliving Jesus. So that's, an accomplishment, I guess. Mind you, he accomplished stuff in his lifetime. Not so sure about mine, but we'll see. But no, I'm living. So yes. So here's the thing. Hey, here's the thing. How many years ago was I 13?
20.
How'd you do that? You're right. I'm 33 now. How many years ago was I 13? 20. How do you do it?
Basic math.
It's the number in between. How many in between? Okay. I am 5'9", 5 feet 9 inches. My wife is 5'7". How much taller am I? 2 inches. Good. Perfect. Does that make sense? Okay.
We're trying to get at here, Orlando.
Bear with me here. Bear with me.
Basic math awesome.
No, but I'm going to talk about why we're doing this. This semester, my average mark in 2P math for you guys is 85. Last semester it was 75. What's the difference? 10%. Well, yeah. No.
The difference were better.
No. So 10. His 24 is really dragging the whole thing down.
Yeah.
So listen. Finding the difference. How did we do that math? How did we get 10%? That's the difference between 85 and 75. I mean, we go, I just know. I can just see it. Right? It's just common sense. It's 10 different. But But if I had to use those two numbers, how do I get the difference?
Divide it, maybe.
Well, does 85 divided by 75 equal 10?
Sure.
No. So what do we do with them? Think. I know it's weird because I'm asking you
I
to
don't know how
turn
to
into
explain
math
it.
something we naturally do.
It's just
85 and 75. What do we do with those two numbers to get 10? Yes. Huzzah!
That was the answer.
Winner, if there was a prize, which there isn't. You subtract. Listen. Shh. Look.
Okay.
Look
that
here.
makes sense.
Look here.
Yes.
Look. To find how much something has changed by, you subtract. And we subtract what you end up with what you started with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hey, I have 10 bucks in the bank today.
Okay.
But 2 days ago I had 50 bucks. How much has it changed by?
It's $7.
I had 50, now I have 10. What's the change?
$40.
40. Good. And is that 40 up or 40
Yeah.
down? Because you subtract by the final state. So that would be 10 minus 50, which is negative 40. Minus change, but it's going down. It's decreasing. It's negative. Now listen, why am I belaboring this point? Tim Anderson, presumably so you can tweet about it. Which hashtag math, hashtag
Easy.
Lit.
lit, hashtag Harambe 2016. Okay. Okay. Here's why I'm belaboring this point. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I want everyone's eyes looking at me. Looking at this guy.
Looking at you.
Attention.
So,
Okay. Here's why. Look. When we got the rise, what we're really saying is, how did the y's change? Does that make sense? What we've really done here, we've just counted. But what we've really said is, how did the y values change? And when we get the run, we're really saying, how did the x values change?
yes.
Does that make sense? And we just said that when you want to figure out how much something has changed, we just subtract. So here's the only lesson today. We've got to be able to take 2 points and get a slope from it. And I'm going to give you an equation, but I don't want the equation to just be a big stupid black box. I want it to make sense. So here's the equation. It's rise over run, which you already know.
Oh, I get it.
You already know that slope is rise over run. So let's look. Slope is rise, which is just how do the y's change? What's the y you end up with? What's the y you started with? What's the difference between them? That tells you how much they changed by.
So
When you want to know how something has changed, you subtract. If I'm 33 today and I was 13 before, I subtract to get the difference, and the difference is 20. If your average is 85, but last semester the average was 75, I subtract to see the change, and the difference is 10. If my bank account has $10 in it today, but it had $50 in it yesterday, I subtract to see the difference. It went down by 40. A real binge at McDonald's. Let's add them. 40, actually, if you ate $40 with McDonald's, you'd probably end up in a coma.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
$40 is a lot of
Wait.
McDonald's.
Is it $40 to yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah, probably.
yeah, that could not be. I don't
I would say
think
when I go to McDonald's, my dad's like,
yeah, no, for like a family, sure, but I'm like for myself, I don't think I could. Yeah, I don't think I could eat.
You go to any fast food restaurant, and if you get something that'll actually fill you up, you're looking at $150.
Yeah, but double it.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, okay, let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look. Take a look. This is my fault. I mentioned it. I shouldn't have. I blamed that. I had nobody to blame but me. Let's focus. So the rise is just how the y's have changed, which just means you take the second y and you subtract the first y. That's the difference. Then run is just the second y minus the second x minus the first x. It's not nearly as complex as it looks up here because it makes sense. It makes sense. So let's look here. What is the slope of the line here? Well, all we have to do is first start knowing that slope equals rise over run, which we know.
So we do 4 minus
That's not where I should be writing that.
minus 2.
We start by saying Just give me a sec. Slope equals rise over run. And then we remember, okay, rise is just how the y's change. And that's always the second y minus the first y. That tells you how much they've changed. And then run, well, that's just the x's. So it'll be the second x minus the first x. So yes, this is like an equation, but it's an equation that makes sense to us. We know why we're doing it. We're just figuring out the change. So relax. We're not going to think of it that way. We're going to say, okay, on the top, the y's. Here is the y. Here's how we're going to think about it. Here's how we're going to think about it. We're not going to think about it as a bunch of y's and a bunch of x's. We're going to say the y value starts at 2 and it ends up as 6. So now the question is, how much did we go up by to get that? Well, 6 minus 2 is, if we end at 6 and we start at 2, the change was 4. Gentlemen. Then the x's. The x starts at 1, and it ends up as 4. So how do I find the difference there? That would be, we end at 4, we started at 1, and that's a change of 3. And so the change ends up being the y is changed by 4, the x is changed by 3. Gentlemen. And that's it. How do the y's change? Because that's your rise, divided by how do the x's change? That's your run. And by the way, this equation will be written down. This is, I'm not expecting you to memorize this as an equation. I don't want to think about it as a memorized equation. I want to think about it as something we can figure out. Okay? I want you to figure out the slope of this one, a line that passes from 4, 3 to negative 2, 5.
Yeah, I did.
So go ahead and do this one. Gentlemen. It'd be interesting to know what the real proportions are. Well, you wonder, right? Like it's like the letters in the alphabet; they're not equally distributed. A lot fewer Z's than there are A's.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah, I am coming.
So I got 34 minutes.
Okay, what you got for this? So how do the y's change? 5 minus negative 3. 5 minus negative 3 is 5 minus
Because two negatives turn to positive.
That's right. So 5 minus negative 3 is actually 5 plus 3.
Okay, I get it now.
What's lovely? Very nice. Very nice. Very good.
Let's see.
I like it. Are you mumbling at me? Possibly muttering? Was that muttering? I don't mutter either. Threaten you. It's not violence. I don't mutter.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, let's say what's going to help you. What we want to say is, how did the y's change? Bracket. Do you know which one's the X and which one's the Y? Yeah, that's right. It's just like that.
How is that negative?
So we're gonna talk about the Y's first. We're gonna talk about the second
Two
number,
negative.
because that's the Y. So the Y's is how
That's not -4.
So to go from -3 to +5, how much did you have to pay?
-2 minus
If you start
4.
negative, if you start -$3 anyway, how much do you have to put in to get there down to 5? And if you can't do that, it's like, oh. Good, so that's going to be 8. That's how much the Y is changed.
Let's leave
So if you can't do it with head, the way we can do it, I'll start figuring my age. Right, I said if I'm 33 today, how long was I 15? What did I do with those two numbers? Right? It's 20. What did I do with the numbers together? Yeah, I did my final age minus the starting age, right? Like the last one. So we can do something different. Start with 5. Say 5 minus. So that's what this is telling you. It's telling you to take the second line. So you that's that's all. Now again, you can do it in your head. You don't have to use the equation. You can look at that and say, oh, from -3 to 5, that's change of 8. But if it gets to numbers you can't do that,
3 minus.
you can always subtract. Do it like 5 minus 3.
Yeah.
8. Your top is 8. Equals 8 to the top. And now we have to talk about the bottom. The bottom is how the x's have changed. So the x's have to go from to very good. How do you get from 4 to -2? How much do you have to spend? Because basically you have to go from 4. Oh, 4 bucks.
No, that's basically what I did.
How much?
So you just go like this.
Well, let's find out. Because again, we always said, well, okay,
Like that.
let's take the last number and minus. Because I can't necessarily do this in my head. So take the last number, -2. The second is,
Yeah, you just go from the bigger number. Instead of minus 4, it's 3 minus 3. 0 minus 3. Plus.
-6. That means if I spent $6, my account would go.
Well,
Do you know what to do that?
Makes sense?
Because we got the x and y. X is 4, the y is.
And that's just like,
Yeah.
and then we could reduce
Go to
that.
69,
But that's good how you say. That makes sense? Okay, oh, I did this all together. Okay, so guys, let's take a look.
Right here.
So can I, even if you're way ahead of me, which I'm sure you probably are, you're probably well ahead of me, but let's pretend we're not for a minute. Let's take a look here. So the change in y's up top. The y ends up being 5. The last y value is 5. But the y value started at -3. Yes.
I think the measure was the opposite.
Sure. Yeah, she's on her way. I hate when they steal my students. It's like, no, she's my student right now. Not office's student. Okay. Shh. So gentlemen, again, I know you're ahead of me. Please step back a page. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, how do we get from -3 to 5? Well, we do 5 minus -3. What is 5 minus -3? What's that number? Yeah, 2 negatives make a positive. Good. So this would be 5 plus 3, and 5 plus 3 is 8. Good. So y2 minus y1, well, that's 5 minus -3, and that is equal to 8. Good. What about the x's? What does the x start at? 4. What's the final x value, the second x value? -2. How do you get from 4 to -2? Subtract, and how much are we going to have to subtract? Well, we can figure it out. We take this, the second one, we start with -2 because that's our final amount, and we subtract 4. What's -2 minus 4? If you have -$2 in the bank and you spend 4 more, you've got -6. Good. And so that's our slope. Our slope is -8/6. Now, for those amongst us, can we simplify that fraction? Is there something we can divide top and bottom by here? This is a right answer. You get all the marks for this answer. But we can divide top and bottom by 2 to get an even nicer answer.
It'd be like 2/3.
Not 2/3, but you're super close. It would be 8 divided by 2 is 4. So it'd be -4. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. So it'd be -4. Now again, this first one, This is a right answer. I like this answer. Nothing wrong with this answer. I like this one better. I like them both. It's like Brody and Tim. I like Brody. I like Tim better. I like Brody. It's fine. He's good. I'm only kidding. I like Brody better. So this is a perfectly fine answer. Nothing wrong with it. This is an even better answer because it's been adjusted. But do those steps kind of make sense? Now this takes some practice, right? Can we agree? Finding the slope between 2 points takes some practice. Easy thing to screw up. What do you think the most common mistake with these is? It's all about negative signs.
Well, I was gonna say maybe instead of doing the second one from the first, they just kind of switch those.
Yeah, they do the first from the second. As long as you're consistent with that, actually, it'll still give you the right answer. There, you got to be consistent though. Though stick to how I teach it, because better to stick with one way. Though you're right, they'll mix and match that. And then the other one is they just lose negative signs. Instead of subtracting a negative, they'll just put one negative sign, and then they get the wrong answer. That's super common. If that's the kind of mistake you're making today, that's great. That means you're getting the idea. No, it is. That's super. That means you're getting the concepts and you're making some little mistakes. That's fine. If you're getting the basic concept and making little mistakes, that's a win. That's a victory. That means we're doing fantastic. And it means a week from now, you're going to be just flying through these things. You'll be doing fantastic. So this is like basketball. If the first day you're shooting layups and missing once in a while, coach thinks, okay, that's cool, we're good. If you're like lying in a bloody puddle on the ground because you've hurt yourself, then the coach is thinking, maybe basketball isn't this guy's thing. There's no bloody puddles here that I can see. We're good. We're covered. So, okay. So, we're going to do it again here. I now want to look at this case where we have 4, 0 and 8, 3. And first I want to find the slope. So we're going to do one together. Yeah, we're on the second page now. Sorry. And now we're going to go all the way and get an equation from this. We're going to find the slope,